So you're going to push play on this thing like you do every week, and because we do not have, at this time, the opening bingity-ding-a-ding that we will have,
Diddy.
I finally figured out what I want to do, but it's going to take a while. But the idea is as little as possible because ain't nobody got time for that. And to watch, to build, to make. I mean, there's real stuff going on, especially these days, these gray and lighter days that we're in. So yeah, what I want to do right away is talk about clarity, because that's something that I received, I believe, as a gift from Jesus. And I think this is worth sharing for the sake of the entire world. I'm still going to work with this for a second there. I think that's about right. For the sake of the entire world. Like when Jesus gives you something, because he's the king and God of the universe and all this, you're supposed to not keep it to yourself. It really doesn't matter what it is. It has no bearing on what it is. Every good gift that anybody gets ever is always from Jesus, and it's so you can share it. Straight up. And so when you do something like this crazy thing you do, like you stumble into the book of Proverbs when you're like a young man, and you say, oh, that says it's going to make me wise. I'll read it and I'll pray for the wisdom that Solomon prayed for. The thing he gives you, the first thing he gives you is clarity. And I didn't know that when I first read it and made those prayers back then, but I did have clarity at that point in my life. I do remember that. And I know that recently, like post-2020, I realized there was very little clarity in my life. What? Wait, what? Like, it left in every direction. Every direction. And so, I threw myself back into Proverbs, praying for wisdom. Guess what I got? Clarity. Clarity for you? Probably not. I mean, maybe I could help, but I got clarity for me. And I even know what clarity is now. I can define clarity so that you can seek it yourself. Now, first off, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, right? You got to know who Jesus is for any of this to make sense. Now, it'll actually make sense if you don't know who Jesus is as a proof to you that Jesus is the one, teaching you. But clarity is internal discipline. Clarity is internal discipline. Clarity is when the inside of you can say no to the inside of you, when the inside of you wants something in the middle of a time when it's too fuzzy to see. And so you say, hey, me, no. Wait for, there it is, clarity. Clarity. It's a wonderful thing. The other thing that comes along with the wisdom of the Bible when you ask for it, hey, Jesus, give me the wisdom of the Bible. He gives the Holy Spirit liberally to all who ask him. And so this is just guaranteed stuff, by the way. This isn't I'm not boasting here. You got this. This is all you, right? Just ask the question. Go. You got to read the Proverbs too, but do it. Pray the Psalms. You know the drill. Songs of Solomon, sonsofsolomon.net. Get going. Anyway, the other thing that comes with clarity is a framework. Now, it's not like Tony Stark, right? Where your dad was this super genius way back in the day, except for that he didn't have all the tools he needed in order to make come to pass what he saw with all the science. It's more like the Father, who is the maker of heaven and earth, has designed everything. And so, check this out. Everything has a design. I don't have a mic. Can I drop my mic? I mean, just go. There's atheists out there, okay? You know this? There's people out there who don't believe anything was made. They all just showed up. That means there's no designs, okay? And that's the crazy we're in, by the way. A world trying to believe that in some way actually is losing to the ones that believe in the old gods, the old powers, which doesn't bode well for anybody, because barbarianism wasn't really good for anybody. Well, except maybe the tribal elder, Alpha. Anyway, clarity. Clarity will help you see that there's a framework at work already in your life, provided for you by Jesus Christ himself. It's actually there, designed for you to bring you to him through this madness and mess by means of clarity and understanding that the cross of him is the salvation of the entire world. Welcome to Stop the White Noise with Jonathan and Meredith. Do you know that Jesus Christ is risen from the dead? That you are thereby paid for. That makes you immortal now, and that he's not going to be so long in waiting for this promise to be fulfilled before your very eyes. Clarity framework, they come from, wisdom. Pray for it. It's all in the words. Those words are right there in that book. Oh, my goodness. So the other thing I want to dig on right off the bat, throw that up there for now. I love my star tree. Did I say that today?
Not on the show.
No, but to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It works. Here's a thought I had, and I really think it's worth taking some sobriety as Lutherans, right? Now, if you're just a Christian or some random coming through and watching, welcome. Hey, it's cool. But sometimes I talk about inside baseball with my church body, my para-church, whatever we call these things these days, my mainline mother. I don't know if anyone calls that. That's pretty cool. That's kind of like, I can rap about that. I think this is a question for us specifically, even though I think a lot of Christians have to ask this question too. But I want the Lutheran in you, if there is any. The Calvinist in you, if that's all you got, then I suppose. I want you to ponder this for a second. I think, feel free to correct me, I think that the Reformation cannot be practiced unless we first understand that it is a war against idolatry with the Scriptures. And if we try to fight it in any other way, well, we make some idols out of the Reformation, I think. But I don't know. I'm some guy in the backwoods. But I really think by reframing your devotion to Jesus as a war against idolatry, you're not going to go wrong. Call me the Mad Christian or something, right? You can't go wrong with this. Yeah. And then, well, that's what Dr. Luther, blessed saint, may he rest in peace, and may we cease invoking his name as if he were a saint to be prayed to or commanded at will in this age. Golly. I think Dr. Luther was mostly engaged in a life of praying the Psalms against his own demons. And everything else he did was a result of that. And that as soon as we lost that, it began to fade. And there was so much gold. There was so much gold that generations lived from this thing, right? What if a bunch of us figured that out at the same time? Maybe they did, and that's how they did it then too. How'd they lose it? Well, I can tell you, it's usually you realize you got some clarity, right? We're going to tie some things together here. You realize you got some clarity. It's like, I got clarity. I want to pass on clarity, because that's what it's for, is to share, obviously. We said that too, right? And so you're like, well, look at this. I see a design. There's a design. This design will work for passing on clarity. And then you start doing it. And it's like, this works. And then it doesn't work as well. You find a flaw in the design. You're like, it doesn't matter. The design is clarity. No matter what, never change it. And like, that happens like every generation at least once. And if the generation doesn't reform, that is actually fight idolatry of the framework, of the ideals that are drawn from the Scripture, which is the actual clarity. If you don't push it back to the Scripture, then it becomes its own Bahamithal beast. It becomes one with the beast, the beasts. We're going to talk some Revelation this morning. I'm not going to take my time to explain to you why most of what you know about the beast is probably wrong, and you can just Google my name and the videos will show up. Google my name in Revelation, and you should find the videos, and you'll at least get my first taste of how upside down the world is and how these beasts are everywhere. And the moment you begin to frame it in the language of the Bible, which requires idolatry at the start, that your whole salvation in Jesus is repentance from idolatry. Like, that's the first major idea we should remember about our faith in the morning. Where are my idols and how are they going to assault me? It's hard to live this way. It's hard to think this way. It's a war, right? It's a war. This Reformation is one of our hearts and our minds by Jesus Christ, and it is affected in us now, right? Look, let me shift gears just a touch. I think I did enough there. I may be left a hanging phrase. Does anybody ever notice when I don't finish a sentence? Do you ever notice that? You do? That's not fair. It's poetry. You don't have to have periods in poetry. What are you talking about? Well, a man is prudent by what he says. So just leave it at that, right? God does give you. This is just a fact. Pagan, Christian, don't matter. You live on this planet. Here's the design as built. God does give you men to be fathers to ask of them. Does that mean all men are your fathers and you have to submit to every man ever? No. Stop with the zeitgeist of this age. I mean, geez, let's quibble about everything. Why don't we? Gee, oh, we do, don't we now? Yeah, that's kind of the it. So God gives you wise men and fathers to ask of them. That's an amazing idea. Think about it. We're going to come back to more of that. I don't want to burn that one. We got a question on man in the house coming up. Ooh. What's that going to do to us? We'll find out. Stop the night. White Noise with Jonathan Meridith. Meridith, good morning. Welcome. Are you on screen yet?
I just put myself just on the screen. So hold on one second.
Yeah, good morning.
There,
So we're going to transition from monologue to dialogue. Semi Saturday morning chill, which is still high stress. Leaning stop the white noise, which is whatever. And try to get a pattern here, right? So we're going to open. It's casual. We got coffee. It's Saturday morning. Welcome, everybody. And then I do the little thing. I get a little hyper sometimes. But then we remember, like, this is a family show. So what's up, Meridith? What happened to you this week?
Well, something came to my attention. I actually brought a prop with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did. So I found this product.
We've had that for a while, right?
In our car, yeah.
Like that was early purchase. I want to back up the story a touch because this is a great story. It's got some context. So you spent some time making masks for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much time did you spend making masks for us?
On multiple occasions, we did 3 different styles before we settled on the final.
Yeah, when stuff hit the fan, like and everything shifted. Like there was this mask making thing that just happened. Everyone's making masks, different kinds, and we finally got the one that was right. And then we had these though because they were easy. You could buy them, and then we were told we should do it for the world and save the world and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you read something, or I read something somewhere about how some of the particles in it are carcinogenic. And we saw something at that point, which I've seen more since then, about how carbon dioxide poisoning can happen if you don't got good air filtration. And then there was also, I think, very early news about how aerosol particles, that the kind of viruses that are common in the common cold and other coronavirus type of things, how those particles just aren't blocked out by any normal mask of any kind. And so anyway, we moved on though, and we went with the ones that you just strap on your face as a piece of cloth, right? Because even though there's no science to back up that does anything whatsoever for anybody except stop you from getting good oxygen and have a little carbon dioxide poisoning, yeah, that's the only science I've ever seen. And I've looked really hard. So send me some if you got a diverse opinion on this. I was going somewhere. Had it, lost it. Debating the internet's a bad idea when you're in mid-sentence of your argument. Don't do it.
So we had cloth ones.
We had the cloth ones. And and then I'm just trying to show how much we've tried, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the cloth ones, and we also learned that not only do they stop you from getting good oxygen and having carbon dioxide poisoning, and this is like last summer, a year ago, right? But that if you don't wash them every day, you make yourself get pneumonia and stuff because you're carrying bacteria and dirt and all sorts of other just nasty stuff that you're not. It's just ew. So we're washing these things every day. That's why we made so many. I mean, we were doing the digs hardcore. And then, but this little box of them fell by the wayside, right? But you found it today.
It's an emergency.
Yeah.
Emergency need. Like, oops, I forgot my cloth one at home.
Yeah, I've pulled. You saw it because I pulled it out because I've needed it twice since we went back to the shutdown. Even though I don't always wear a mask, I tend to wear one when asked to wear one. And I carry around a little booklet with me now that, do I have it here with me? It's a simple Christian right to decline. No, it's out in the garage. I carry on a little booklet. I gave one out last night. That says, the scientific evidence that wearing face masks is bad for your health. And it's published by the Federalist, written by a lawyer out of New York who makes his living, fighting for people who have their businesses shut down because they're just trying to make a living. And there's this tyranny zeitgeist of healthcare worship that's compelling everyone to do things in the name of the white coat. Within the white coat, it's like, no, there's no science. And, no, don't look at that science. So let's delete that science. Oh, YouTube. Watch YouTube. Play sports. Drink. So yeah. So now, with all that said, we find it.
So I found it. I finally spent time reading it. That's the crazy thing is that I
bought this and used this and never read it.
I was told, go get them. They're necessary. If you love people, you'll wear them. And so I did. And I didn't ever read it. And it says, not for medical use. intended for single use only.
We knew that later.
Please throw
Yeah,
them away
right.
after you use them
Yeah,
once.
right. Truth.
Discard after use. So it actually tells you. Get rid of it. This general use mask cannot eliminate the risk of contracting an infectious disease.
Huh. That's why the CDC said not to wear them right away. Remember that? First thing they said, don't go buy masks. It won't help. I remember that very clearly. I will never forget. I'll say it to my dying day. You come kill me over it. Drag it from my cold dead chest.
So what is this good for? Well, it tells us filtration of pollen, dust, and other air particulates.
Hey, there you go. So if you're going to let go mow the lawn or
No.
something.
If you're allergic to grass,
Yeah.
wear one.
All that aside, it doesn't warn you about that some of these indeed contain particles such as like fiberglass and whatnot,
Right.
that you just don't want to be breathing for long periods of time. They're meant for short use, short burst, which I may as well share this piece of information. So I'm a living dictionary sometimes of useless information. I try not to be completely useless with it as I share it with you. But yeah. Oh, so the masks that do work. N94 masks, you can Google these.
95.
N95 masks, right? Because it's 95% of blockage of all things, including aerosol particles, and they're super, super expensive. And don't buy them because they're only for medical people and all this kind of stuff. That's
Right.
actually what they say, okay?
You can't buy them.
But they actually do work to stop the transmission of coronavirus-style particles for up to 6 minutes when in closed chambers. And after 6 minutes, that 95% starts to go less, 93, 92, and one of those nice sweeping curves where by the time you're there an hour, it's like 6%. That is, they don't work for more than 30 minutes ever, and you want to get out of there after 6 minutes if you're actually trying to prevent something. This is not the religion that everyone else is worshiping right now, though, right? You feel me? I'm like, why do you hate me? Because I believe in science. Come on now. Come on. So, yeah, what else besides Blast from the Past and Welcome Back to the Future with masks in Illinois? Rockford. Move to Rockford. I really do mean it. It's a great place to live.
Something came across my plate that I found really exciting as I ponder it and try to figure out how to put it into my life. There was a story of a woman who was good friends with another woman, and something happened where their friendship went away. And she was pondering it and realized it wasn't that she was... So her friend and her were actually fighting against the same enemy. And the enemy was the devil, evil. And she said, so instead of fighting my friend, I decided to fight for my friend against Satan and his minions.
By not being friends anymore?
No, but by praying for her.
Prayer.
Specifically, she wrote a list of good qualities that this friend had. So instead of dwelling on the negative, she dwelt upon the positive. And just that activity alone helped her mindset to be more positive towards that person. It was a friendship that she didn't want to lose. And so it was something that was hard for her to, she said, delete the contact in her phone. But it was something that had to happen.
That's sad.
So,
yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting insight to think about when we struggle with people, which is going to happen, to realize that it's not that I'm struggling with that person. It's the evil. It's sin. It's,
sin living in a person, even your enemy at their worst.
And we have the same enemy, so fighting for them and not against them.
Oh yeah, so that the reason your enemy is because the devil is your enemy. And when you pray against your enemy, you're praying against the devil foremost in your enemy, and then against your enemy insofar as they remain allied to the devil, which is going to happen in varied proportions, and none of us should really hasten to judgment on that one, since that day's coming in its own time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it's a good day. It's a good day. Are you familiar with the distinction between red pill, blue pill?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I thought maybe, because it's just enough pop culture. But I know that God be praised, brainwashing movies don't work on you.
I fall asleep.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I used to hate it, and now I'm so grateful for my wife's brain that was stable all that time. So The Matrix, which is a movie about how movies keep you trapped in, and screens keep you trapped in a life that's not real, just like Tron, by the way, was about that. Watch it if you're one of those people. within the Matrix movie, the story about coming out of a shell in which you're literally trapped inside a computer, right? You just can't, you don't even know it. You have a moment where the character is supposed to choose, like, to forget that he's learned this and just go back to ignoring it all, and then, or to take the red pill and wake up in the real world, which is like this birthing pod in a destroyed environment where there's just robots everywhere, and humans are batteries for the robots, which is actually how the elite are using you right now with debt slavery. But we can talk about that when you listen to A Brief History of Power. Two white guys. Check it out anywhere you find podcasts. That was good right there. That's why they pay me. Wait a minute. You can do that at Patreon. Oh, wow. Out of the park. Not really. But back to the Matrix. Yeah. So you got this red pill, blue pill dynamic. It's about waking up in a sense, right? Although I really think, again, the metaphor of the movies, what we should wake up from, really, it's not just about like, oh, I woke up and realized America wasn't all that I thought it was. Like, that's nice. Welcome to the train. But like, that's underneath the machines are eating us as a religion that people worship, tied to healthcare and promises of eternal life, based on destroying babies for food. So that's what we should wake up from. That's what I'm awake from, red pill, blue pill. Now, there's a lot of people who are on some level of this red pill, blue pill dynamic, though, and they have another edge to the metaphor, which they just picked up and added into it. So now there's black pill, white pill as well. So it's going to connect to what you said. Because you just talked about how your friend decided to white pill. Because right now is a time when a lot of people are black pilling. But it's also a great time to white pill. And that is black pilling, pessimism, white pilling, optimism. I mean, it's not exactly Christianity, so hang tight for a moment of wisdom. It is common sense that when it's worst out there right now is not the time to decide that you lose. That's the time to decide that there's a better, bigger reality than you. His name's Jesus, but if you can't believe that yet, you're going to get there if you keep watching. There's a better, bigger reality than you. And he's going to get this storm over and through, and you're going to stand stronger on the other side, one way or the other. And yes, the resurrection day is coming. Judgment day. I said it's good, didn't I? So, your friend said, I just had a black pill kind of moment in my red pill kind of world. Yeah, they know what I said. And it's what you said. And she said, I'm going to white pill this with some prayer to Jesus. I'm not going to believe for a moment that even though I'm deleting this person's number from my life, that it's the last time I see this person. And that the next time I see this person, it may indeed be to say, yes, I'm forgiven too. It's great. Here we go. You know, what a better thing. What a great story.
Yeah, I found in Proverbs 28, verse 13, he who covers his sin will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. And I found that encouraging because when we are tempted in situations like that to say, oh, it's all their fault, it's not my fault, we can know that if we dig deep and find where it is our fault and confess, there's mercy for us at the end of that.
I desire mercy, not sacrifice is one of the most powerful red letter sets you can ever find. There's a lot of good ones. Come to me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Kind of says the same thing. That's why you like Jesus. Why he come to me, all you who are weary, heavy laden. Him saying, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, is his saying why he said that, right? He says, come to me, you who are weary, because I desire mercy. That's what I want to do. That's all I want to do. I don't want to sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice for you. You get this? You got the world's upside down. You think God has to be sacrificed too. God sacrifices for you. From the beginning. Oh my goodness. Christianity makes so much more sense than all the other madness. We got stuff to go today, and I'm excited. I don't know what happened to me. I do know what happened to me. Can you tell the world what happened to me?
You got clarity.
Oh, I did. Do you know what else came with clarity as a gift from Jesus this last week? I did it twice. You know.
Twice.
I did it twice.
Oh. I can't even say that word.
You can try.
Okay, here it goes. Here's my try. Jiu-jitsu.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh my goodness. I'm such a white belt. Oh my goodness. But was it great? That has revolutionized my
Testosterone.
Composure.
No.
That's the word. I wasn't gonna say it. Composure. And those things are very closely connected in science. If you watch science TV like this show, stop the white noise to Jonathan Meredith. It's been a little white noisy from me this morning, but that's what you get.
So your gi is hanging outside on the line.
What do you think of my death's head symbol on the back of my gi?
Yeah, I looked at that and I thought, okay.
The world worships death. I'm not surprised, and I'm very excited to learn from this master. He's a disciplined man and kind. He's got a kindness to his discipline. I look forward to this very much. It's a good place to roll. Hey, move to Rockford. Join me. Learn jiu-jitsu. I'm planning to learn the rest of my life, and I'll tell you where. You got not online. I'm going to tell you where. You can move here. Let's see. We got a question from. We have a few withhold our names this week. So it's nice that our show is watched by the anonymous who's trying to run Antifa and destroy the world. You can watch videos by anonymous. Go Google him. You'll see it. It's really nasty. He's plagued of conscience. He's got 5 questions today for us. So here we go. Most recently, or most firstly, primarily, at the beginning, shout at here at the start. Here at the start, he's got a question about going to be a pastor. So rock on. All right. Greetings, Pastor. I have been interested in being ordained for several years now. Without explaining the specifics of my journey, I earned my MDiv during a period when I was not attending an LCMS church, although I was raised in one and had become a member of an LCMS congregation. Ironically, because of the disagreements I saw between the teachings at that seminary and Scripture. Okay, so you have an ordination, you can be or are a pastor, you grew up Lutheran sort of, and now you are a Lutheran. Okay, cool. Since then, I have been working using my undergraduate degree, accounting and finance. Fast forward, I'm now considering being ordained through a program that allows someone who was not trained at an LCMS seminary to be a pastor. Yeah, colloquy, right? There's a couple of routes to that, or ways you could make use of that in the LCMS. You could do more or less work, but you can do the least way through, right? Okay. So, however, you recently checked the pay scale for the district and was shocked to see how low it was. Oh.
That's funny.
Yeah. We are a single-income homeschooling family already, right? Yeah. You get ready, huh? And intend to stay that way. My question to you is, what are some ways pastors supplement their income to support their families? I'm considering using a website to teach finance classes for other homeschool families, but I don't know if that will work since it requires consistently being online the same day every week. I could try writing a book, but I don't know why anyone would publish anything I wrote. What advice would you give? I don't write books to make money, I'll tell you that. Not if you're going to write church books, especially. One of the most valuable pieces of information I have ever read was if you want to succeed with a prosperous finance, don't serve nonprofits. Don't serve people who aren't wealthy, right? You have to serve people who are wealthy. Now, that's just general wisdom if you want to make money, okay? I'm not saying that's the answer to your question. But I am saying this, though. So if you're going to teach a online class for homeschoolers right now, you're trying to go to a market that's small and doesn't have money to spend to begin with. And you're going to add one more faraway thing that they don't even know exists until you spend money to find them with a website. You're not going to make money. You're going to lose money buying into the zeitgeist saying, hey, everybody come online right now. It's great. No. It was great 10 years ago. And now they own it all. It was a very fast gold rush. And it's pay to play. Look at my numbers. They're not that high. They don't grow much at all. Why is that? I don't pay. If I could pay to make this grow, that'd be unwise. Use their weapons against them. Don't buy into theirs. Backing up a touch. So the real question is can a pastor supplement the income? The other issue is you're shocked at how low the salaries are in the LCMS, which is actually, it's bad for pastors in general, but no question LCMS is miserly across the board. Period. Germans, maybe some other ethnic groups have this, but the pennies they's a pinched it, and they's accounted every one, every time, always, and you will pay it back, cause it's for Jesus. And we wonder why no one wants to hang out. We're wait, why the visitors never come back? We're nice. We swear it. We told them we were. So yada yada. The low pay is a spiritual decrepitude within the worldliness of American churches. Now, there are other churches in the world with worldliness, but let me suggest that the strength of the financial boom for the baby boom generation over the last 40, 50 years has led to a spirit of arrogance amongst most of the institutional places that are run by them right now, which they basically believe they cannot fail. Like it is impossible to fail. And meanwhile, it's all failing all the way around, right? What this, again, has meant for at least the LCMS is that while certain institutions have grown and grown, the average life of a clergy or church worker in the LCMS has gotten worse and worse, even though technically they're kind of living in the same social class that they would have been back before. But that social class is a little more third world than it was in the a lot more third world than it was in the 80s. Maybe I just didn't know. Maybe I didn't know what kind of neighborhood I lived in. There was a gun up the street. I know that. So I don't know. Some kid had it, talked about it and stuff. And it was city. It's Portland. I mean, Portland, that didn't just happen overnight, I imagine. I don't know. What I know, again, though, is that I do know this, that the LCMS has increasingly made, without trying to, it's ignorance, not malice, the life of its church workers worse and worse and worse, just more and more stressful. If you're a teacher, you got it way worse than a pastor. You're overworked, you're overburdened, you're underpaid. They ask more of you, and then when you feel bad about it, they tell you, well, you don't love Jesus enough, and so try harder. And it's just a really, really difficult place to be. And so, yeah, you're going to colloquy into that. Welcome to the show, man. Rock on! You get a lot of support. Someone out there, some allegiant upper is like mad if they've watched this. They're like, why is he telling them that? Now they won't come to our churches. And that's the problem right there. That's just it. Like, the spirit is one of kind of a unawareness of what's actually going on, which is that, say, your pastors are barely surviving, and then they're constantly being asked to do things that aren't even really their job. And so they're also depressed because they aren't able to do their job, which is to read the Bible and talk about it as much as possible. Instead, they're doing a bunch of other stuff for people. So again, why are you doing this is my question. Why do you want this job right now? There's not enough churches, so if you're going to plant a church and that's your plan right now, that's great. If you're at a local church where they need your help, that makes sense. If not, I don't get it. If you're a young man and this is your path and you're going to go to the seminary, that makes sense. Kind of. Although right now, I don't know. I think you're in a gap triennium of sorts. I'm like, if I'm at a place where I'm going to change, or if I have to make a new decision, I'm going to say it right now. I do have to make a new decision. I'm in the process of making a new decision. And I am not going to finalize that decision for at least 3 years because it's just too hard to know right now what the real course should be. Nah. So if you're going to say, I'm going to go be a pastor, it's like, well, you have no idea what's coming. None. Your assumptions about next year and 3 years from now are based upon the idolatry of the American system, which, again, until we realize that we're fighting idolatry within America and start acting like Christians, thinking like that, it's not going to stop falling down. It'll be our prayers that change it and our words and works that change it, but that can't happen until we repent of it. And I imagine there's plenty of you who don't like me saying that, and that would prove that we need to me. Oh my goodness. So all of that, am I mad about my own income? No, but here you're asking me how to make more money. What do? This. I do this as a third of my income. I got 5 kids. I got 1 income. I live just outside of a meager city on some county land that I couldn't live in the city. So I moved out here. And our little 3.5 bedroom, what? It makes me think of it's not quite, Spaceballs, the movie. They fly this Winnebago through space. And it's a little more than that, but it's like if you turned the Spaceballs Winnebago spaceship into a house on a lake. That's where we're at. It's not so bad. I like it just fine. But I get stressed out every week because I know if this don't go right here, we're in a really just harder place than we would have been. And I got to ask the same question you have. So now what do these hands do? Now that you don't pay me to talk, or I can't make money to talk because there's no rest of the world to talk to because all the allowances from the YouTubes went away because I don't do the right things for their gods. Yeah. Now what do I do? A question about the mark of the beast coming up later is the same question. What happens when you can't buy or sell or trade? What happens when what you do is not recognized for the value that it brings? So what I highly recommend is you don't stop doing what you're doing at all. You continue your job that you have exactly where it is. Through this entire process, you plan to continue that the rest of your life. And then if you're working with the LCMS, they are willing to tell you that they have a way for you to do that and become a pastor. They do. It's called the SMP. Just say it. I want to do SMP. That sounds like it's the best thing for me financially, because it is. Okay? I'm just straight up, right? And like they resist it for all sorts of political reasons. Everyone's got a reason. But all those reasons are going to mean it's worse for you financially, and you just realized you're going to step into a terrible financial picture on the other side of all this madness. And no one's going to advocate for you. Jesus is going to right now by giving you some wisdom, which is to say, then again, you can keep your income where you are, do that work, talk to your local parish, make it be understood to that pastor that you are his diligent servant within Word and Sacrament ministry. Under God, you won't disobey God or the Scriptures, but you will be his man because you would like to study under him through the SMP program, and then you will serve afterwards as a pastor in that location for free because you want to, because it's times like these that need men like you to do that. That's awesome. Keep your job, do that. That's awesome. And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you know what happens? You get a call. Probably. I know. Like some DP or some other person, well, it's not supposed to work that way. Yeah, you're right. It's not supposed to work that way. It's been working that way the whole way, though. So it's what they say is allowed, or it's what they're actually doing. And I would suggest you pay attention to what's actually going on, and don't sacrifice yourself for a parachurch organization. Sacrifice yourself for the true truths of Jesus Christ. That means take care of your family first, also, by the way. Yeah. So, what do I recommend for extra money? You already got it, right? So you already got it. You got to be able to work with your hands. That can mean any number of things. So I'm going to recommend, say, Psalm 37. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to recommend Psalm 37, and that you pray that every day. It's long. Don't try to do it in one big chunk. Split it into parts. I don't care. 4, 8. You can do 12. Make a pause wherever there's a pause. That's too many for me. I do 4. But that is about you continuing to live in daily bread as God's plan for you forever. And reading that every day out loud will be God preaching to you through you, Jesus, promising to you those very words, which is that you're going to have your daily bread, but in more than one way, and in a way that isn't trite sounding like, oh yeah, I know it, but in a way that will actually inspire you to believe it and live with it. So I do that first before you try to get onto any kind of pyramid scheme, internet growth trajectory. It's all nonsense there, I think. I mean, it can be done. It can be done, but for each of us to do it individually is more of this divide and conquer thing the demon's got going, where like rather than have us work together in a village in which we all live for generations, making it more and more awesome, they convince us for a little bit of a pocket full of shells, I think was the way the song went. A pocket full of shells. We send our kids off to concentration camps. They never come back. One generation, boom, it's gone. Where are the young men? They suffer. They suffer indeed. You should check out, while you're in 37, check out 38, 39, and 40 for such a time as this. Okay, one more. So I can recommend that a man, there are 2 things here. I want to make sure I don't miss my notes over here too. Here's the good thing. Okay, I just complained. I complained. A Lutheran church that calls you and pays you $50,000 a year plus healthcare package, maybe. If you get it, it ain't bad. It's better than most. It's not what it used to be. If you have that job, you get paid to read and talk. It's a pretty sweet gig. Your time's like mostly your own, unless you're dumb enough to say, here's my cell phone number, I'll have it on all the time. I did that for a while. Your time's mostly your own. Find a way for your people to get to you. Find a way to get to them. They pay you to read and talk about the Bible. Mammon's mammon, you know? I mean, if it gets taken away in my little Winnebago by the water, We'll live where we live. We'll do what we'll do. We'll probably move into one of those giant houses in downtown Rockford, these mansions that have no windows. Buy one of those for $30,000. They are gorgeous. Man, somebody with like a couple million. I'm just going to say it. There's blocks down there. You just put up one metal fence and you renovate from $30,000 per house to you're going to be selling $1 million houses just because they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. They're huge, huge Victorian houses. They just sit down there. Anyway, nobody cares about real things. They pay you to read. So wherever you are, poor man, better a little as the righteous than much troubles with the wicked and their wealth and their schemes. Yeah. So don't get me wrong about your desire, but what I am bothered by most is like the thought, okay, so what's my Ponzi scheme to like make it work out? No. It's like go into this knowing you're going to give up the ease of the daily bread you have now, and you're going to get a different daily bread later, and it just might be a bit more chewy. But, you're going to be who you're supposed to be. And that's worth a lot, really, right there. So I think that's enough from me. I want to give you a chance to talk about this. I mean, you've been through this with me, watched me the whole way, go through this kind of up and down and try to fix it, and oops, let's try to make money, and that's a bad idea too, and blah, 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 and just repent.
Well, I think what you said was good. Asking yourself why you're going into it, why is this a goal, is a good idea. It's definitely not a life of luxury. I don't recognize that we don't have things that other Americans do until I go into a scenario where it's like, oh, that's what other people are doing with and for their kids. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. But we've made those choices because it's important to us to have you do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the wisdom things that has popped up again and again, I wish I could really point to a proverb specifically for this one, and there probably is one. But it's this idea that, well, he who spares the rod spoils the child, but we argue about the rod. The fact is that having a hard time is good for the family. You don't want the hard time to be so hard that you break, but like daily thorns and thistles are good for you. They build up good calluses that help you do more good work. I mean, it's just that idea, right? The next question is going to need some Bible that I did not open for you. So you're going to have to go to one of those Bible ones and type in the number 666. And I'll read the question. Except for that, it would seem they're out of order. There it is. There's B. All right.
Okay, so I'm typing in what?
Okay, look in the search bar for the Bible, right? Not
I
for
got it.
Okay, and just type in 666. Should give you a chapter in Revelation that we want the whole chapter of. I just don't remember which the chapter is off the top of the head.
So would that be Revelation 13:18?
Probably.
Here is wisdom.
I guess calls for wisdom, right? 13:18. Yep, that's it. It's right there. So yeah, pull up all of chapter 13, and we will be going to that text momentarily here. In response to another question from Anonymous. So Anonymous, out there wreaking havoc in the world. You've seen this guy, right, with the face mask and everything. I mean, not just like the breathing one, but like the big Guy Vera or whatever it is, Guy Fawkes.
It's like when we were first married and went to that church where they prayed for one. And I thought, this poor person.
Always
one, suffering from all these things. Okay, what's up?
So Anonymous asked, do you think this vaccine for COVID is the mark of the beast? This vaccine, that's the interesting thing. I don't want to talk about vaccines in a way which YouTube thinks is bad. So I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about inoculations because that's a different thing altogether. And the thing is, like, even if you're going to be inoculated for the SARS-2 COVID, which is all things that come from the original one, there isn't one inoculation. There's like 5 at work in America right now, I think. And then, I mean, Russia's got one called Sputnik. Yeah. China's got its own. Right. They don't all use the same technology. They don't all use technology that you could actually rightly track to the word vaccine as it's usually historically been used. That is, just pulling this word onto other words. The word vaccine has to do with cows, smallpox mostly. So like the question's a tough question, and it betrays the zeitgeist gaslighting you, so you don't know even really what to ask. So I think what you really want to ask is, are these passports they talk about, which will be sort of like tests of ritual cleanness based upon your submission to the gods of this age, is that the mark of the beast? Right? Or if it comes to pass, these passports, are they the mark of the beast? Now, what's the mark of the beast? That's a really big question, right? I mentioned Revelation once already today, so you got to go look at these other videos. There's a lot there going on. We're going to look at some. But that's like this whole nother bag of worms, right? Just to define what that is. But I don't want to go past that yet. I want to stop and mention that again. So in the inoculations that work in the United States right now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. You remember there was one that was pulled. That was Johnson & Johnson. That one was clearly made use of dead baby parts inside it if you took it. Sad. That's not good religion right there. And that was pulled because it was causing so many problems, and it actually got reported enough. Because the other ones apparently caused some problems too. That the SARS, I forget what it's called, the reporting system, the CDC one. It's quite amazing. Quite different from all previous inoculation rollouts. Really, it is. And so, the distinction, though, again, so you had the Johnson & Johnson that stopped, and then you have the 2 mRNA gene therapy trial experimental inoculations that are what most Americans are taking, to my knowledge. And Pfizer, the biggest name, I think, behind these technologies, these gene therapy technologies. So that's the thing. And then you have some people trying to make a smallpox-style actual vaccine. Now, the way that works is different than the way, say, the mRNA ones work. And what's really interesting is a science piece. I know we've heard this before, I suppose, but it's worth saying again, and maybe they're going to kick me off today, so I might as well say it. We tried to eliminate the common cold in the 80s with vaccine technology. Smallpox style, a little bit of virus, inject it, let them beat it, now they're immune to it. Okay, that was the original idea. If you think that's how this one's working, no, that's not how this one's working. We tried that with the common cold in the 80s, and what we found in animal experiments was that instead of creating increased immunities, what it did was it enhanced the evolutionary capacity of the virus. And there's a phrase for this, the scientists call it, I can't remember what it is. And what that meant then, again, is so that technology applied to this particular type of so-called virus. Virus just means poison, by the way, in like Latin. It's just the word poison. This particular poison in your body, we found that it helps it reproduce more swiftly. Now, what does that mean? It means that's what always happened before, right? So now, where you don't have gene therapies being put into play, you do have various people trying to attempt this smallpox-style vaccine injection with this coronavirus-style virus, without going through the testing where you would catch that happened before. Because that happened in the testing, which took 10 years, and then they stopped doing that testing on the regular cold because they found that, again, it just made things worse in the animal trials consistently over and over and over again. So right now they're just doing the same trials with us, everybody else, Sputnik and whatnot. Unless Sputnik's just water, which wouldn't surprise me, actually, at all. If Russia did it, right, guys? Hey, left. Where are you, left? Where's the Russians now, left? So, Mark of the Beast, then, right? Let's just look at it. Check it out. Chapter 13, Revelation. Buckle in, people. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. Okay, so what you have here is a conglomeration of a bunch of former apocalypses, revelations, types, images, symbols, realities that are in fact heavenly, taking place in the unseen world that have impact on this reality here, told to us in pictures we can understand and see, even though they look really weird as they come to us. You're picking up on a bunch of those from the Old Testament, you're shoving them all together, and you're basically saying that all former empires that have been used by the world are now being used by the devil in one empire. One power, one throne, one authority. Now, remember, John saw this in his day. Keep that in mind. Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. Okay, so you got the devil right there, kind of obviously, right? So again, the dragon is the devil. The beast now also is looking like him, who, the devil, mortally wounded by Christ at the cross, nonetheless goes about deceiving the nations, looking like he lives right now, even though his time is short, right? So, at the same time, then, the global world power, whatever form it takes, as it did of old, prior to Christ's coming, there will always be one post, and it will always reflect these monstrous creatures that came before. It will have this deadly wound. It will rise and fall, I guess is the basic way to say this. That the world power will always look like it's about to collapse, and sometimes it will, but it will come up again. And so you can think about Britannia and the Great English Empire, right? And you can think about Charlemagne, or you can think about the far east of Byzantium. You can think about China, actually, maybe. And so the point here, again, is that where this beast of the world empire, where the world's governing sword comes, it's got a deadly wound that isn't quite deadly yet. It appears to be healed, and it's leading astray as it goes. Verse 4, so they worshiped the dragon, who gave authority to the beast. So those who follow the beast, those who worship the government, those who worship the sword, you could say it that way too, they worship the devil, straight up. And that might be why you find those death shrines all throughout Mexico. It just might be why, I'm just saying. Hey, repent, believe, they worship saying, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him, right? Where is their God, they say of us Christians these days, Where is their God? Hey, Jesus, what's he going to do about it? Yeah. And the beast was given a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. Did I skip the horn that came up? There's like a horn. No, it's one of the heads. One of the heads, mortally wounded, his deadly wound was healed there. Yeah. Okay, the devil. And then again, the Roman Empire coming and going. You can make a lot of hay out of like where that is specifically. I think you're maybe too focused on the narrows of what John saw, because it definitely happened in his lifetime, and you should see that it's fractally reflected in every time. That is, every government's in some form of this, every life's in some form of this, every month and week and day is in some form of this, and you can just learn the spirituality of God from all of this. You get that especially because it shows up with the number 42 in just a moment, which is all about the completion of everything, even though, I know that Hitchhiker's Guide, like, what a lucky guess that guy got. Anyway, it's here in the Bible. And he was given a mouth, verse 5, speaking great things and blasphemies. And he was given authority to continue for 42 months. That's 3.5 years, by the way, and it's 100 and something. There's three numbers that go together somewhere else in the text that all are the same. And if you can remember that, it's helpful for parsing it. So, but look, he's given that authority 42 months. That's half the time. So since Jesus has ascended, there is a special resurrected global world power that has a mouth speaking great blasphemies and has authority over this age. You with me? It's pretty clear to me. Verse 6, then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. Right? So this is who the false government will always try to replace God. God kings are what men have always tried to be. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. That is, the church is effectively unable to resist this, historically speaking. Soldiers too can be saved, right? But the point here is that the church is not given the power of the sword. And so from time to time, you have the slaughter of the church. It does just happen. It has happened in history, yeah? And authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. So here he is off again, deceiving the world as much today as any ever. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So what you have here is a diagnosis of the primary idol the devil uses since Jesus' death and resurrection and ascension and until his return. And this is always going to be the primary idol. The other beast out of the earth is a secondary idol who serves the first idol. But the first beast is the idol of the sword, that is the government, that is whatever makes you feel safe. Whatever public strength you think will protect you. Trust not in princes. How big is your bank account? When will it be big enough? It really doesn't matter. It's, again, an attempt to live without daily bread. That'd be another way to look at it. It's a good thing, too. Like, the order is good. Romans 13. I'm not against that at all. Pray for the order. The order is good. Yeah. The sword is good. It's very good for punishing evildoers. It's very good for stopping evildoers from hitting you for no reason, right? Or, well, it used to be. Yeah. Symbolically, it is. And that's the idea here again, too. So the government is not necessarily evil, but notice how the devil has given a spirit to the authorities of this age, the governments of this age, which leads it to be a source of affliction for the saints in the ark of his church as we sail through it all. But we, who have our names written in the book of life, we who are saved by Jesus, elect into his name, we don't worship him as the rest of the world does. And this is what's driving everyone nuts right now. If you're a Christian, it's like you're realizing there's a bunch of people who seem to give more attention to something that's not Jesus than Jesus. Right? Like, what's up with that? If anyone has an ear, let him hear, John says, He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Oh, it's just so brutal. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Okay, so if you believed what I said there, and you're not like all angry about how this is supposed to be about like the new Israel or something, right? Over there with like tanks and things. Like what is said next takes it all home. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity, right? If you think the sword is going to save you, the sword is not going to save you. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword, right? It is not the path to life. Here's the patience and faith of the saints. So if the saints really are going to endure right now through the shifting of regimes in the American ethos, it won't be by taking up the sword against the regime just because the regime turns unchristian and does some things against us. That's just Christianity always, though, too. Now, there's another beast then that comes up out of the earth. All right, here we go. We're still not to the mark of the beast. We got one beast. Now there's two. Which beast? Well, it's symbolic. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all authority of the first beast in his presence and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Okay, here what this is. It's religion that makes you worship the government. Boom. Check it out. Read it again yourself. It comes out of the land because the synagogue that allied against Christianity with Rome against Christianity came out of the local land where Christianity was arising. The beast out of the sea that's across the water, it's Rome originally. That's how you can get to this all being government and all being church, right? Synagogue, false church, right? So, so you have this false church that leads you to put your trust in this age, put your trust in the sword of this age. And this false church, follow this, false teachers with the name, I come in Jesus' name and I tell you things in Jesus' name. False teachers perform great signs. Now, so as to make even fire come down from heaven and on the earth in the sight of men. He deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, idolatry, an image you worship. The image has got to be this great empire, this great world power, this great Western civilization even, maybe. Yeah. This is still the beast out of the land, the religion that teaches you to worship the government. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now, here's where I'm like, forget the mark of the beast. Where do you see talking images that talk for some governmental world power telling you to worship it these days? Is that in your life anywhere? You ever seen that? Or is that just Star Trek? Do you follow me? Like, this is so scary to me I'll read it again. The false religion, the power of false religion in every age, he, verse 15, was granted power to give breath to the image. That is, he can make the picture talk. That the image of the beast should speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now, that could mean that TV gets used to compel a lot of people to do some very evil things and massacre a lot of people. That's been done before in other nations. Radio does it just fine. It could also just mean that it makes Christians get lazy and drift away from the faith, too. But then it goes on and it says, indeed, verse 16, he causes all, both great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. Here was your mark of the beast thing, right? And that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So we got a bunch of stuff going on here. Mark on the hand or on the forehead involves buying and selling and is a number and a name. All right. Now, oh, goodness. Revelation Unleashed episode probably, I don't know, long way in. I do a podcast on this one once upon a time, and it goes into great detail about how Ezekiel is the origin of the mark on the forehead. And there's a whole section in Ezekiel about how before the end of Jerusalem, God's angel, Christ, goes and marks on the sign of the believers remaining in Jerusalem while their leaders are worshiping demons in the temple, puts a cross on their forehead to spare them from the coming destruction. And it's really quite powerful. And so this is like the opposite of that, right? John's got the antithesis going on here. The bit about, let's see, I want to say one other thing about marking. The major idea here is that when a false religion gets you to worship the government, then you will not also be able to be a Christian while you continue in that religion. So that may mean you can't give your pennies for their cheeses or whatever. You might still be able to give your pennies for your cheeses and have other ways in which it's destroying you. You've given up. Right? The cheeses are, in fact, the flesh pots of Egypt. You just don't know it. Right? And so, yeah, the mark of the beast is that thing without which you cannot buy, sell, or trade. The vaccine passport, we don't even have that. No, I don't think that's exact. I mean, it would function like such a thing. I think right now the mark of the beast is quite demonstrable in the shame that I feel when I walk out in the open air without a mask on. And I'm shamed into wanting to put this religious relic and taboo phenomenon on my face to make me unhealthy in the name of loving my neighbor's health, which it's not. Now, so that all said, here is wisdom, verse 18. Probably should pay attention to that last verse since it does say here is wisdom. Right? Like when it says that, like don't go fast. slow down. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast. So who's got understanding? Like everyone's like, okay, I'll do it. That's the first thing everyone does. Okay, here we go. Wait. 15-year-old. Who has understanding? Now, go check out Proverbs 1 verse 2 in the Hebrew, and then come back, right? And calculate here. And I really do mean that. I'll give you a little hat tip though, because I've been around this block a few times. So, calculate the number of the beast. What he means here is, hey kids, numbers mean stuff in the Bible. Huh? You didn't know that? Now you do. Yeah, that's what he means. And so, the number of the beast is something that you have to say is a number that's not a number. It's a number that means more than a number. Now, Jesus has done this in Revelation already very, very clearly in chapter 1, where there are 7 lampstands and 7 stars that are not 7 lampstands or 7 stars. You can go read about it. But he said they're not. There's completely different things. So symbolism is at work in the book of Revelation very clearly. And this what makes things about the 1,000-year reign of Christ and whatnot interesting to talk about. Yeah, since numbers mean things as symbolically in Revelation very clearly, and here again, this number, everyone takes it to be symbolic, and so they start to interpret it, right, whether they have understanding or not. And then they demonstrate it pretty clearly because this number of the beast is the number of a man. His number is 666. But here's where they very quickly demonstrate they don't have knowledge. Most people say the number is 666. Now, it's just not understanding, and it's like, can you sit down and take notes? Because it's a little awkward, right? You got to have like both an alphabet and some mathematics involved to understand why the number is not 666 and what the difference between 666 and 666 is, right? Can you see that? Just when I said it there, right? So you have a long number that means something, and you have 3 of the same small numbers sitting beside each other. Now, that doesn't mean this to you until you look at it in Hebrew. Do it the same way in Hebrew, you end up with 2 numbers. So which number is it in Hebrew? It's not 666. That's what I'm saying. It's 666, all right? Which is actually 3 different letters, not 3 of the same letter. And those 3 different letters form the sounds. I'm sorry, not 3. It's 6 different letters. And those 6 different letters form the sounds k, s, and n, n. There it is. I did it out of order. It's n, n, k, s, Nero on Caesar. Nero Caesar. It's very, very obvious in Hebrew. All you got to do is calculate the number. Go to the place where numerology is developed in the Bible. Where's that? Old Testament. What's that made of? Hebrew. That's where all the numerology comes from. Okay, so plug it in to the Hebrew, and kaboom, it's Neron Kaiser. Now, I bet you there's even some numerology in that in the Hebrew in terms of his name and what it means and mathematics and stuff, but I'm not that smart to have done that much work. I don't know. What I know is this, okay? So what he's saying at this moment to his people that he's writing to from the island. Remember that this letter's not to you first. It's to a bunch of people in 7 churches on Asia Minor. They're supposed to spread it to everybody they can. What he's saying to them right now is that the Roman government, working hand in hand with the synagogue, is about to impart and enact a persecution on the entire Roman Empire, like unto the persecution of Nero Caesar, which had happened 20 years prior. And it did happen, this Diocletian persecution, within just 5-6 years or so of whenever he would have written this. 90 to 100 AD. It's right in there. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. No. And so he's saying, look, Caesar right now is going to be the one who is effectively doing this to you. Does that mean in every age your tribal elder or your presidente is in fact the Antichrist? No! Slow down, right? But what it does mean is that you know the spirit of the devil whenever you are ashamed to go somewhere because of something you don't do that's not in the Bible at all, or something you do that the Bible doesn't care about at all. And so you're not able, at some point, to worship Jesus. And or because you worship Jesus, they kill you one way or another. You know, if they do create a 2-tier society where you can't get food out of the inoculated society and to the uninoculated society, let's see them try. All the farms are on the other side. If they did try to do that, right? Like, think about this. How do you defeat a city that you don't want to storm? You surround it and starve it out. Think about it. It's well, interesting times. I think it's a good question, but I don't think it's right. No, my answer is no. No, I don't. I think that the masks are far closer to that mark, since they're upon your face, and you might as well wear it on your eyeballs and forehead, since it's proven that you don't read, more or less. Well, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe you only read the internet. So, I don't know. Golly, that didn't feel nice, that last thing I said, but I think it had to be said. Yeah, Romans 13. Not Romans 13. Revelation 13. I think we're good for today on that one. I got enough on that one. And we got a lot more to do that I won't get distracted by because we're going to a party with jiu-jitsu people. Hello? Are we ready?
We're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking for like commentary to like breathe too or
I'm
something.
sorry. Woo! Good job.
I didn't say, ow! I didn't hurt myself. I didn't say cheerleading. I said commentary. Goodness gracious. Okay, here we go. Number 6. We got to move on it. Pastor Fisk. Peter says, my wife, that hurt. Oh, man. My wife and I attend a Lutheran church that rightly administers both word and sacrament. We are blessed to be members there. However, it is a very elderly congregation, and my family is just about the only family with kids that attends. My church also has some small red flags about the whole vaccination COVID stuff going on. I think this is due to the fear of the elderly that attend. Recently, a friend from work invited me to his church, which it's also LCMS, turned out to be very confessional, and on top of this, had lots of young families. My wife and I really like my friend's church, but it's hard for me to justify leaving my current church due to the fact that we are, in fact, receiving word and sacrament there. Thank you, Peter. All right, so there's a couple of things here that are really interesting. Calling a church very confessional. I've been thinking about that for a while, I suppose. You know, it's sort of within your overly inward-looking LCMS circles where we're fighting over the scraps of our falling apart institutions, rather than realizing we're up at a war against idolatry in America, and it's like each man for himself, so we should kind of get together on it again. We fight over being confessional or not confessional, or liturgical or not liturgical. That's the way kind of my team says it. I'm on that team, guys, still. But I want to ask what it means to have a church that's very confessional, because I know now what I didn't know when we moved to St. Louis, and as a pastor not working as a pastor, I had to choose a church. I think I probably still would have chosen the same church, but I would have chosen it for different reasons. Because I'm pretty sure I chose the church we chose because it was confessional and liturgical. That's why I chose it. But I would pick a different reason now. I would join a church that was Christian. And so if I'm in a church that's filled with Christians, and there's another church that's filled with Christians, that's one question. And if I'm in one church, and I think it's filled with Christians, but I don't know. No one talks. And then I'm in another church, and it's filled with Christians because they talk about Jesus. I got no qualms going to the church that's filled with Christians. And I'll tell the pastors I'm going, there's people who talk about Jesus there. So let me just free you on that one right there, right? Like, the biggest deal is, do the people that you take the sacrament with believe the Bible's true? Now, can old people do that? Yes. Are they to be blamed for not having any energy and for, kind of being tired and maybe not even able to understand everything that's going on around them at all times, increasingly as they age? No, they're not to be blamed for that. Although, wisdom is proven by her children, and folly tears down her own house. So my first thought, and I hate to do this, I feel kind of punky about it, but like, you're feeling guilty for for potentially bailing on what, in 95% of the cases that they are like this in the LCMS, are just a group of selfish people who won't repent of their idolatry of the building. We have like 2,000 of these congregations that are like this. They can't even get pastors. And so, like, if that's where you are, don't feel guilty for leaving a spiritless church. And you want to test the spirits? Here's how you test the spirits. Pretty easy. I mean, how far away is your friend's church? Right? Now, maybe it doesn't matter for that congregation right now, but I've been in enough situations, and it always is the same. In our church body, it's always the same. Where you have something like this. So here it is. Let's just say it. You got 85 all young families worshiping in like a barn, but it's working really well. And you got like 25 elderly with this old giant building that they can't even pay for anymore. But they have some endowments, and then they have a little bit of money, not enough for a pastor, but a little bit of money every week, every month. And you're like, hey guys, why don't you join this other church? And they're like, leave our building? No, never. We would rather die. They don't say that. That's what happens. Okay, so if you're in that church, leave. Now. Get out. Okay. Then they might say, why don't they join us? Meaning, all these people who are doing okay over there, we won't join them. They need to come here. Maybe those people want that. They're like, yes, real building. This is awesome. But what often happens is then those who own the building won't let you actually do that. They still want to be in charge, and it never happens. I've seen us try this LCMS multiple times. We can't get the people to do it. You're too selfish. Sorry. I don't know what to say, but we're closing churches because of it. We're closing churches because of it, and your calm of conscience here is because of it. You got, what, are they 15 minutes apart? You all got cars, right? It's one congregation. Here's the real question. I had said this to somebody at St. Paul just this week when they were asking about something. I said, how many LCMS churches are in Rockford? How many? And she said 5. I said, well, no, there's 1. How many churches are in Rockford? Oh, hundreds. No, there's 1. There's 1 Church of Jesus Christ. 1. And we meet in different buildings. And sometimes we listen to more or less faithful pastors, teachers. But there's still, through all that madness, Pope included, there's one Christian church. And so if you're going to go from one building to another, you're not leaving the church, and you're only leaving the people if those people take it personally, which would be not what Christians do. When they realize, oh, you'd like to go spend time building a future for your family in the faith with other families, rather than sitting here and mourning for sons who won't come home, maybe because they were sent away. Yeah, goodness. So I just want to say, go, man. It sounds like you want to go. Why would you not? It's faith. You can change churches. I've had many people leave my congregations, and just this last year again. You know what? If you're going to another Christian church where they're saying Jesus is risen, and they're not saying do gene therapy right now to save your life, it doesn't bother me at all. Like where you get fed, you get fed. Go get some Bible, and stop fighting to save these institutions. That building is not the church. Never, 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 never. We should go on. D.
All right, we're ready.
Thank you very much. As a male Lutheran, anonymous, he's back. A high school teacher who grew up in public education and excelled at behaving through my entire education. Yeah, I wrote down what? Public education obedience. There you go. Throughout my entire education, I am aware that I am likely a product of feminized U.S. education system. Yeah, excuse me. Matrilinealism is the word you really want to kind of cling to. Matrilinealism is rule by shame or rule by unhappiness. Yeah. And it's the way that most of our civilization does work, although I can't speak for the elites at the very top. But by and large, the men still think they make the decisions, but the women will always make sure you know that you're not allowed to. And this, as a young man or boy in the education system, and the way that most teachers will then treat young men, can be quite, it's overwhelming here, right? Behaving is the word. And I think we're seeing some of the negative results of that in both the inept men that are growing up and then the rebellious men that are growing up, both in reaction to this lack of nurture from the feminine zeitgeist that has decided it's in charge, right? Which is, again, everything we're in right now. Kamala is coming. Kamala is coming. I recognize this and try to take steps towards shedding that upbringing. Yeah, I mean, read the Bible, pray the Psalms. You'll become a man. As a teacher, I want to help. Facilitate the young men in my classes to be welcomed as young men and not just sit and be like the girls. As you have referenced this issue many times, I would like to hear your opinion on what teachers can do in their classrooms to facilitate the needs of the boys who are learning to be Christian leaders. So I guess I'm assuming, Lutheran high school teacher, because you're not going to be able to do anything like this in the public schools right now. And I do think it's funny. So your question is, how do I facilitate diversity in the classroom? Like, that's actually your real question, right? As opposed to the nonsense that goes in the name of sexual diversity these days. And what you're asking is, how do boys become men? How do boys become men? It's a good question. And I think the first answer is, it must be welcomed as young men and not just to sit and be like the girls. Yeah, they need a different class. That's how it used to be done. We stopped. The world's upside down. I mean, that's my answer. I know that's like a hard pill to swallow, and I know you can't do it. So then what? Well, I don't know. How do you fight to preserve a system that fights against itself by doing the very thing that makes it impossible for men to learn, which is inserting women into the discussion, especially when they're 14. Especially when they're 14 and 16 and 20. And it has nothing to do with how smart you women are, for pity's sakes. It has everything to do with how headstrong the men are and how easily you ladies get hurt. And so if you want them to grow up well, right, they kind of got to grow up and be different and be men. And then they can't always be told, don't do that, don't do this, don't be like them girls. And it's very difficult to do in a system which is all about sit still, which is what boys don't do, even when they're big. So, yeah, that's a really good question. Prayer remains my answer, because I don't know how we change the systems we're in right now, especially with the rate of undoing that seems to be going on in many of them. in terms of people's lives, right, and their minds and what they are able to believe and remember and handle. Try this. Will you get in trouble? What if you split the classroom just in half? Boys, girls, left, right. Check it out. Game on. Have some ground rules. Have them read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus together as a class. One page out loud every day and discuss both sides of the room. No commentary on other people's comments. Just your own comment on what was said in the book. Little of that go around all year long. I bet you it does something. Throw some Ephesians 5 in there while you're at it. Yeah, little 1 Peter 3 will come up later today. Which for that reason we should probably move on. But you probably have insight here, my friend, I imagine.
Oh, I like what you said about splitting the classroom and having.
That's not sexist of me to say that. I thought it was a chauvinist thing.
Well, no, I don't think that it is. I guess I didn't take it that way, because I don't know how many times I was assigned a seat next to a boy and not wanting to sit by him. Like, really?
Was it the deodorant thing? I was just gonna Hey guys, go to Walmart, buy deodorant, wear it. Like, if you are able to watch this and understand what I said, do it, because you don't know yet, and they do. And the girl you want, she wants you to do this. Go do it. Right.
Or, if he's in the lower grades of high school, how many times did boys try to use their attention for me to distract, to get my attention? Like, they wanted me to smile at them or whatever. And so they pulled my hair or, drew on my paper. And it's like, leave me alone. I'm not here for that.
I never understood why she not understand my markings. I say, I love you with color crayon. And she say, ah! Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, right? I can't wait to read that book. I got some notes on it from my buddy Maccabeus here, and it's been really valuable. So having that understanding that there are differences between them is really the way to start. Yeah. Moving on to E here. What time we got of the day? Do you know what time it is?
10:35.
Oh, yeah.
10:28.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're fine. Dear Chef Fisk, Anonymous, man, dude. I hope you're on. You get me on Patreon?
Busy.
Anonymous, you support me on Patreon, right? Right, okay. God be praised. I easily let go of the man-made creations I used to cling to. So that sounds like some form of device or idolatry that you are aware of, that you were worshiping, and now you've let go of it. Awesome. Rock on. Thank you for your teaching and guidance on this topic. I know in my head that it would be better if Jesus came again right now, but I struggle to live as if I believe this. Excuse me. So this is the main thought here in this question is understanding that life would be better if it was over with Jesus' return like now. And especially when you're young, this is a hard one to understand. In fact, if you can take it, this is like the most mature answer of all the answers I'm going to give you, is you just have to know that the passions of youth are filled with folly. That is, trust that you're a fool. And actually, again, Proverbs 30 verse 2, it's kind of the starting point for a lot of stuff. But as a young person, trust that you're a fool who won't stay one. Right? So, I struggle to believe it would be better if Jesus came back. Yes, because you're young. So just believe that it will be, and don't worry about if you feel that it will be. Don't worry about how you can think it through. There's the two ways you can look at it. Neither of them really matter. What matters more is that he is risen, and therefore, since he said so, it's going to rock. It's going to rock. Why? It would be better if he didn't. It's going to rock. Where do we get this idea that it's going to be so much better to be here? Well, we just pay too much attention to what's going on here, and when you're young, it's easier to do that. You don't feel all the pain quite the same way yet. And clarity hasn't quite come, because clarity, again, is discipline plus time in a lot of ways. So look to the sky, though. I want to keep reading your question, but looking to the sky, if you struggle with anything, including being glad Jesus is going to come back, there's no way to go wrong with once a day taking a moment to stop and look at the sky and imagine what would happen if he came back right now. Do a little countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, go. And it didn't happen. Okay. But it wouldn't have been bad, would it? Well, there you go. There you go. Right, just do that every day. You'll get it. It'll come. But you got some good like noggin questions in here. So let's keep digging. But a lot of feeling. So much of this question is feeling, and frankly, feelings don't count on Judgment Day. Just fact. God be praised. I easily let go of the man-made. Oh, yeah, I read that one. Instead of clinging to temporal things, I cling to people. So now you've kind of replaced your devices with another security blanket, right? Another form of trust in humanity or this world. Okay, sure. Well, you're not going to be able to get entirely rid of it. Please don't try to live a sinless life. It's just not going to happen. I know humans are fallen. Yes, you do. Fail me regularly and need forgiveness just like me. However, I am burdened by a sin to hold fast to the people around me that I love. Any advice you may have on how not to do this, I would appreciate. In addition, I have a theory about where this comes from. Well, that'll help. I don't want to lose the types of relationships I have with these people when heaven comes. I know that the types of relationships in heaven will be so much better than we can imagine, but do no earthly relationships cross over or be made perfect. For example, why does not marriage exist in heaven? This causes me to cling to my significant other. These relationships are a good thing. Jesus has given them to me. It does not make sense to take them away. Marriage reflects Christ and his church. Will this not also be reflected in heaven? Thank you for the sacrifices you make to bring us guidance and truth. God be with you and your family. Again, so there's a bunch of little tangents in here. But the first part about I cling to people. How do I stop clinging to people, right? In a sense of not like I'm going to love you for you, but in a sense of I need you, right? And there is a definite lack of final development in the person who never makes that jump, right? Call it separation anxiety, call it what you will. There's a growth that needs to occur, which is not a separation anxiety, but is a positive personal development, an independent mind and heart that sees the value in others precisely because they'll be with us in eternity. And not because of whatever they happen to be doing for us now, whether it is giving us a giant big bear hug or whether it's trying to stab us in the eye with something, that the body in the present is indeed temporal, right? But the people are eternal, and that's the good news in a lot of ways, right? So yes, you're not going to lose the relationships that you have with people in paradise. Men will neither be married nor given in marriage, but will be like the angels. A very enigmatic phrase from Jesus. I believe it fully, and I look forward to finding out what it means. But I don't think it means that I won't know that I was married to Meridith and be glad that I was and have a special understanding of her in my heart the rest of my eternity. However, I'm pretty confident that spending all of eternity with Meridith only would be selfish for her and for me. I mean, I was just thinking about this. Like, can you imagine, like, on that day, but it's not going to be that day. Maybe you get like a week of party with Jesus in New Jerusalem. Everyone's just running around, like, just really enjoying whatever the new mead is like, right? And then it all settles down, and you end up out at a villa somewhere, and there's your father as a young man, and you spend how long hearing about his life? How long? Wouldn't it be worth that? And then when you're done, guess who shows up but your great-grandson? Now you get to hear about his life. Whole thing. How Jesus saved him. How it all turned out. I mean, there's so much coming we can't imagine. Yeah? So much coming. And this idea that you're going to lose your soulmate, I do got to talk about that then, because I love Meridith. Mm-hmm. I would say we have a pretty tight bond at the end of the day. When one of us dies, it's going to hurt a lot for the other one. And so in that way, you could say our souls are mated to each other. That is, in fact, what has happened. The Bible talks as if one of us were to die, marriage to another human being is a completely healthy and normal process. And I just have to believe that. I don't really, why would I look forward to that? Why would I pray for that, right? But I do have to believe it. And so that means I have to believe that the soulmate language of America, which is that there's only one for you ever, is a dualism of the devil, right? It's a yin-yangism. It's this idea that you aren't even a person, actually. You need someone else to be one. When we talk about a sexist idea, there's one. You ladies, you've been made partakers and co-heirs in the resurrection to come, though ye be weaker vessels now, indeed, as the text says. Recognize what you got already. You got a lot. And the moment you say, I need a mate to complete my soul, then you do not have a soul that is complete at all. And the fact is, you do have a soul that's complete. First, cursed. Second, saved in Jesus. And redeemed and entire. And then now, God does indeed, through the holy matrimony of marriage, mate that soul to, well, one he has designed for you, who you will find. But you worry less about finding your soulmate, because that idea, again, makes people afraid they won't. Isn't that the weirdest thing? I have to find my soulmate. I don't know where they are. What are you talking about? You're not going to find them like that. Unless you want someone who's just as neurotic. Golly. Instead, take care of your soul in Jesus. Pray for someone who has a soul in Jesus and loves the wisdom of Jesus, and then trust that you will indeed mate well. You will mate well over your lifetime of pain and repentance and forgiveness and suffering and all of these things. Yeah? Christian glory does not pass away. Christian glory does not pass away. So, 1 Corinthians 15. We'll try to just glance at this to give you the hat tip to go look at it. 1 Corinthians 15 can help a little bit. You have that one if you was already up, I think, but you can find it however you wish, my friend. And we're going to go to verse 35. I'm not going to slow down a ton here, so you can put the YouTube on slow if you want to. Okay, so starting at verse 35. But someone will say, how are the dead raised up, and with what body did they come? Foolish one, right? So someone will say, the resurrection is not possible. God doesn't exist. And he's like, dude, just don't even talk to that person. But he does answer them. What you sow is not made alive unless it dies. So he suddenly says humans are like seeds. Catch that. Humans are like seeds, now in the earth unto the resurrection. Okay? And what you sow, you do not sow that the body that shall be, but mere grain, perhaps wheat or some other grain. But God gives it a body as he pleases, and to each seed its own body. All right, so that, we'll keep going. That was clear enough. Verse 39, all flesh is not the same flesh. And there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of animals, another fish, and another of birds. You can argue about that and get into debate about what that means. But the main idea, still moving forward, 40. There are also celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies, that's heavenly and earthly. But the glory of the celestial, that's the heavenly, is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another, right? Unseen and seen are different things. Verse 41. There is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, another glory of the stars. One star differs from another star in glory. So all this is out of the different kind of bodies part, right? So the seed has a body, the plant has a body, the stars have a body, the moon has a body. So also, verse 42, is the resurrection of the dead. The body, the one you got right now, Adam, is sown in corruption. That is, your relationships, your idolatries, every thought, word, and deed, even the good ones, are sown. They go down to the grave in corruption, but they are raised in incorruption. Why? Jesus, right? You know that. Okay. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown in a natural body. It is raised in a spiritual body. That doesn't mean you won't have a body. He says that next. If you think that's what that means, read the next one. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. You're like, what does that mean? You don't know yet. You're a seed. You're going to be a flower. How can you imagine what it's like? You can't. And so it is written, the first man became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. However, the spiritual is not the first, but the natural, and after that, the spiritual. That's some rabbiism right there. The first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. He was the man of dust, so also are those made of dust. I want to get down. There's more parts about flower. Oh, here we go. So, hold on. I think I maybe skipped a little bit. I'm going to scoot back and check myself here. I feel like I skipped a passage, so someone can point that out in the comments if I did. But if not, I'm going to make good on this idea, though. that you're a seed now. Okay, so if we can pull out of all that body language about the heaven, moon, stars, seeds, that what we're being sown as right now, which isn't just your body physically, but your flesh, your mind, your heart, your entire experience, is a seed compared to the flower that you will be on the day of resurrection in the everlasting kingdom that God has made for us all to dwell in. You can't really imagine that, but you can believe that there's no new marriages, but that all relationships so established by this age will be glorified into an eternal perfection. And that will in fact be what we're after, is those relationships in that age. It is about the relationships. It is about the people. Just not for now only, but today unto eternity. Yeah. I also highly recommend Psalm 95 as a daily prayer for you. And I mentioned Psalm 37 already today. Both of those are going to help with your actual question. 95 especially, though, I think. I think that is that one. You got anything on that one, my friend?
Nope. You did a good job. Oh, I do have.
I mean, how do you deal?
A little. Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we got a super chat from Jedi Knight Anna Quinn Cringe Walker, and he says 1 John 3:2 mentions what we will be has not yet been revealed. A great comfort to me. It means whatever can be revealed in this life isn't.
It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. Yeah, that's right. You can see but through a mirror dimly your own self as you will be. You can see clearly revealed Christ as he is, promised and reigning through faith alone, though. And not with the eyes, but with the heart that hears the scriptures speak true.
Then Pastor Wolfmueller jumped in.
Oh, yeehaw.
And said, I like how Paul is working backwards through the days of creation. 6 animals, 5 fish and birds, 4 sun and moon, etc.
Nice. Dude, good find, man. Nice. All right. Anonymous, we got 2 more here, and we're running out of time on this one here. Pastor Fizz says this, number F. I am curious of your thoughts on this phrase concept I've been hearing a lot lately when my... Am I missing one? I'm missing a question. When fathers do the minimum... Oh, this question. Sorry. I got to take a breath for this question. This is a fun one. I don't want... There we go. Pastor Fisk, I'm curious for your thoughts on this phrase concept I've been hearing a lot lately. When fathers do the minimum... Sorry, I should just move on. When fathers do the minimum, they get applauded. But when mothers do the minimum, they're a bad mom. Now, you're going to say you hear this a lot, and you're going to ask about it. Okay, now, I really want to ask everyone a question who watches this. Do we really think what we need right now is more male bashing? I'll read it again. When fathers do the minimum, they get applauded. When mothers do the minimum, they're a bad mom. Ladies, you don't have it worse than your men. You never will. And that little part is like, yeah, that's the curse. There is so much man bashing going on in this age. This question is so insulting. Not you. The person who says this. Are there evil men? Yes. Is the problem that they're men? Kinda. No. The problem is that they're evil men. And yeah, the evil men prosper. Psalm 37, first line again. But tell you what, there's a lot of good men out there that don't get applauded at all. And they got to hear this stuff all the time. More male bashing is not going to fix our problem. Our young men are brittle, broken, scared, weak boys because they've been bashed so much. Because the only father figures they're allowed to believe exist are Homer Simpson and what? Ben Kenobi? Your question's a really good question, what comes up next. It's a really important question. But the statement, when fathers do the minimum, they get applauded. When mothers do the minimum, they are a bad mom. You hear how divisive that is? Either or. That's Marxism. You want to hate communism? Hate this idea. Divide two people who shouldn't be divided over things that should unite them and then make them fight. Listen to this crap you're listening to. That's not the Bible. And whoever's teaching that in the name of the Bible needs to stop it. The Bible says, fathers, do not weary your children. The Bible says, children, honor your fathers. The Bible says, ladies, follow your men. And the Bible says, men, pray with and for your ladies, for they are the weak or fair one. This is white noise. Now, your question's not. The quote is. I like your question. You go back and forth between wanting to take care of your children and husband by doing it all. Cooking, cleaning, teaching, shopping, etc. And feeling like my husband should pitch in more because on the rare occasion that I need a minute to myself, he isn't able to take over because he hasn't had enough practice. Now, I don't know your husband from Adam. He might be the laziest guy on the planet. Okay? I'm not. So if that's what he is, I mean, he's just, my answer is still going to be the same. Okay? But I'm going to suggest he's as strung out as you are. And you're both doing this. You're both in this world. Okay? And again, listening to not Bible teaching is going to make it worse. It's going to make it crazier. It's going to make you bitter. So, you go on. I'm expected to have the house clean, dinner made, children bathed, but when I have something to do outside the home, all he does is keep the kids alive, and when I get back home, I'm thrown right back into cooking, cleaning, teaching, shopping, etc. Where is the balance? Thanks. Second thing I don't want anyone to ask me anymore, where is the balance? Don't say the B word. There's no balance. There's no balance. There's tension. There's tension. You feel it. You feel a lot of tension, right? So you don't want balance. You want the tension on spectrum to release into a place where the tension feels good. That's a position of strength. Now, balance is not even that. Balance comes from that. You want that. You want a core. All right, so don't search for balance. Realize you're in a tension. Now, here's the thing. You list all the things you do. All the things you do. They're all really good things. Like, I'm sure everybody really appreciates those things get done. And when they don't get done, they tell you they don't get done. They may not do it in an appreciative way. That has a lot to do with how the family languages work. And if you're just piping in language from outside, it's going to be rude. We're people with unclean lips. We're going to speak like it unless you try intentionally not to, right? So instead of being like, Mom, thanks so much for making dinner last night, and can I help get dinner started tonight? You're going to be like, Mom, where's dinner? Right? That's language, right? That's discipline within the order of our treatment of each other. That's how we talk to each other. But there's this other factor at work here, which I think is really important since I mentioned male bashing. And I'm not going to say that all the men are where they should be right now. Like, the reason if you watched me the last year, I'm repenting like again and again. I'm like trying to like figure out how to just be a good man, right? And so I'm hardly saying that whatever your husband's doing is just all good all the time, right? No. But I am saying that if men are doing poorly, bashing them doesn't fix it. And we're in a big wind of let's bash them as hard as we can, and if they're white, doubly so. And so, again, maybe realize that the answer before it's someone else is always going to be you. And then ask yourself this question. How good are you at letting your husband fail? How often do you fix his problems? I think, you call it my opinion if you want, I think it's pretty biblical. I think that part of the curse of woman, Genesis 3, her desire for her husband, which is one to overthrow him ultimately, is not always a direct attack to overthrow, like I hate you. It's just to make his life better than he can make it. It's just to rule him. And so if he, like, sets up his pieces, here's my pieces, And you're like, oh, look, if he does that, it's going to break. And you're like, hey, no, this one needs to go over here. Like, he'll be like, oh, you're my woman. Okay. But if that's all you do, he's going to stop playing. He's going to go play his own game somewhere else. So what that means is every time you fix anything, he thinks you want to do it. Because you won't let him. And if it's not fixed, because he won't fix it, he doesn't think it's worth it. Or he just can't get there because he's too tired. And he assumes since you're doing it, you want to. You must want to. And then you do that all this time and you carry this grudge. You won't talk. You harbor ill will rather than actually pray more. I recommend 1 Peter 3 for us all right now. Let's go to that. Pull that one up. I mean, God be praised. That's what I mean. It's a great text. I mean, verse 21, you're going to have like stuff about baptism saving you. It's even in the Bible and stuff. It's just nuts. It's like the Lutherans are right all the time. If only they believe it, you know. Chapter 3 starts, though, with this section about wives. Wives. Likewise, that is, as Christ submitted to the Father, and as you submit to Christ, so submit to your husband. That even if some do not obey the word, they, without a word, may be won by the conduct of their wives when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. So, here's the thing. Like, if you're a Christian woman, and you're in a marriage that in any way, ever, isn't the way you want it to be, and you decide to fix it, you're choosing the Genesis 3 path. If you decide to pray about it, you're choosing the 1 Peter 3 path. I highly recommend 1 Peter 3 as the mode for trying to be a Christian. Genesis 3 explains why you do what you shouldn't do. Right? 1 Peter 3 will tell you, again, pray for the man, because without a word, you can win him by your conduct. But that might mean you have to realize your conduct doesn't belong in certain places. Not unless it was asked for. Or that if you've taken authority from a man, again, if you have just gone ahead and taken authority from a man in America today, he is too weak-spined to ever take it back. Because you know why? You're going to get mad at him when he does. You will. What you're asking for, I guarantee you. I live this life too. We have a great marriage. We're working through everything. I got CPTSD and struggle with it. But I tell you, again, the more you pick up what he was supposed to do, the more, oh, did I write it right here? Here it is. The more you fix it as a woman, the more you'll fix it the way you want it. Why wouldn't you? The more you'll assert authority to change what he had set in place with his own authority, the less he'll be willing to take it up again against your authority because he loves you. The more he'll decide, I'll just shut up and let her have it her way. I mean, I don't mind it that much. It's not even that important to me. I can snake away and do something that's more interesting. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's the world we've built. And the solution isn't to bash the men. The solution is stop doing their job for them and stop complaining when they do their job. I know. 1 Peter, let's keep going. Do not let your adorning be merely outward. That is what you look like. Nothing wrong with being pretty, but arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Verse 4, let it rather be the hidden person of the heart with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in God's sight. Remember where we just came from. Christ who suffers and doesn't open his mouth. Christ who suffers offense, something that's not just. Remember the lesson of Job, that his suffering is not fair, but it's for his faith to grow, for him to trust not in himself and his hands, but in Christ, his Savior. And so also for all of us, and you ladies, your husband is a place where this is a discipline to enact the rest of your life. It's a gift to you. Good or bad husband, it's all going to function with the same kind of reality. And the best Christians are still going to have the curse in their hearts, which means the man's going to lean tyrant all the time, and the woman's going to, grumble against his authority all the time in our hearts. The discipline in Christianity is of the tongue and hands, though, right? So then here's the thing. Can you turn the hands and tongue of yours to prayer for your husband first? Stay there. If he won't pray the Sons of Solomon prayers, you do it. Do the Daughters of Wisdom ones too. What did Job do for his kids who weren't praying? He went and did it every morning. He ended up with different kids. Well, that's how God works sometimes. But husbands, you might get a new man born again right in front of your face. You just got to wait a while. How long did she pray for Jesus to come? That lady who was, her husband died 70 years before she was.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, goodness. Song of Simeon is Anna? Yeah, Anna. And you got Hannah, too. I mean, she was praying hard there for a bit, too, for Samuel in the midst of that time when there was no Savior in Israel. I mean, just amazing. For in this manner, verse 5, in this manner, in former times, the holy women who trusted in God also adorned themselves, being submissive to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, if you do good and are not afraid with any terror. Why would you be afraid? Because it's not fixed. Because it's going to break. Because what's going to happen? He won't fix it. Yeah, he's not going to till you let him see it break. Here's a little thing about how men learn. We learn like after the third time. Yeah? So it's like bang the head. Okay, I'll change it. And that's when we're like old. We figure that out. Boys, it's like 15 or something. Just keep doing it. It's fun. I'll keep trying. Right? So, but men, we have to bang the head. In some ways, it has to break for us to be able to fix it. Are we broken ourselves? Yeah, it's a sinful world. If you're trying to make your best life now, your perfect life in your house with your man, it will mean you will try to change your man, and then your man will be unhappy. And he won't be an active man. And then you'll be unhappy with him because nobody likes an inactive man. They're pathetic. But ladies, I mean, the answer is not more, it's less. It's not more, it's less. The guy's got to have space. That's a key thing right there. He's got to have space. Someone said to me about our boy the other day, he's got to be his own man. That's great advice he gave me. He said, he's going to be his own man. Let him do it. Let him do it. I was like, that made sense. So, all right. On this sin, I got more. Genesis 3, 1 Peter 3. I was talking about husbands. Verse 7. Husbands likewise, dwell with them with understanding. I think that means read Proverbs 1 verse 2 and then realize it means read Proverbs. Giving honor to the wife as the weaker vessel. This is the thing I never get about the ladies my whole life, ladies are just pissed off about this verse. Grumpy, pissed off, angry. You bring this verse up, man, you just get scoriated. You get looks, you get squints, you get all sorts of just meh. And I scoffing. And like, it doesn't say, recognizing the stupidity of woman as weaker vessel. Like, it doesn't say that. It says giving honor to the wife is the idea that you are frail, Meridith, beside me in a lineup is a glory to you. And we live in an age where all the women think it's like a dishonor and a shame. And they're busy trying to be something else. So before you get too mad at me about anything else I just said, why don't you work on that one? Because I'm not going to say I'm jealous of women. I'm a man. I was made a man. Why would I be jealous of woman? Woman's curse is to be jealous of man, but you'll be freed from that in the last day, and you won't have to be a man to be so. You'll be a woman forever, gloriously. Oh, my goodness. God. So believe this. Pray this. Trust in Jesus. Oh, goodness. Husbands, so dwell with them. This is really key. Giving honor to the wife as the weaker vessel, being heirs, co-heirs of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Men, if you let your women be men for you, you will pray poorly. That's what it says. So if you want to fix that, pray rightly first, and then you will begin to see the need to be a good man for your woman. And not just a good person, because there's a difference. So I know I have more, and I know what I want you to talk to. Men are from Mars, wild at heart, bringing up boys, apply it to your quiet prayers. So in your actual situation, where I don't know nothing about you and who your husband actually is, but you're doing a lot of work, and you don't know what to do, and you can barely drop the ball, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get this, okay? I'm telling you, listen to on YouTube some Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus stuff. Try to get a hold of the book Wild at Heart, and then quietly pray those Sons of Solomon, Daughters of Wisdom prayers in the Psalter with all that in mind. And give that a year, as you also have a very careful conversation about how you need to set a few things down in the home for a little while with your husband. Like, hey, my friend, my love, my master, my Lord, whatever you call him, Dad. I can't do all this week. Just so you know, some of it might get dropped. Then let it fall. Don't make a mess. Don't be bitter. Just take one thing off your plate that no one ever asked you to do. And let him know it's not going to get done this week because this week's too rough. And then the next week, ask him how it went. See if he needs help again with it. See if he did it himself. See if maybe he liked it. I mean, you don't know, right? So how much are you carrying is how much you're carrying, and you picked it up, probably. Because if you think your husband made you and he's a weak husband, he didn't make you. He's weak. He can't make you do anything. That's the problem. He doesn't make you do anything. That's why you picked everything up. If he could make you do something, he'd make you set it down, but you won't because he tried. He stopped. I'm not kidding. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. This is a universal experience here. I'm pretty confident of it. So I agree, though. Okay, so a man who goes and sells his soul to a computer for 8 hours of the day, and I don't mean, guys, you're going to hell. I just mean you're tired when you get home, right? It just wears you out. And you come home, and like sometimes if you've learned the value of work with your hands, you can fall into those dishes and be like, oh, this is better than work by so much. She's so lucky she gets to do this all day. Oh my. Because it is. It's not like soul draining the way that the cubicle can be. But you also probably have a bad habit of coming home and wanting to have your soul sucked out even more. You're like, I'm so tired, I just want to check out. And so you put on this programming that doesn't check out, but checks you right back into the soul sucking you were just in, only it's like going to replace. So you got a bunch sucked out, and now you get a bunch pumped in. It's all crap. And then you're more tired after that, and you don't know how to talk to anybody, and you're kind of afraid and nervous and have a lot of anxiety because you got all the news from the week across the entire planet, and the place is going to hell. You think you can fix it. Actually, no, you don't. You just know you can't stop thinking about things you can't fix. And so, oh, I'm going to go play video games. I'm tired. Oh, honey, where are you? I want food. I mean, who knows how it comes out by the end of the day. So, ladies, if you heard me saying the guys are in a good place, please continue watching the show. The show is directed at us guys saying, hey, guys, we suck. And it's time to get up now because it's getting bad out there. And at least pray your psalms. Jeez. You know, talk to your son once in a while. Spend some time with him, not on a screen. All that kind of thing. I'm going to go back to that first quote. When fathers do the minimum, they get applauded. When mothers do the minimum, they are a bad mom. I have never, ever been publicly confronted by a woman as a pastor over forgetting Father's Day. I've forgotten Mother's Day a few too many times. I've always been let know. Now, in the order of things, that story just says a lot. It does. Do mothers in this age feel overworked? Yup. Absolutely. Whose fault is it? It's probably not that simple. But I doubt it's just their husband's fault. Yeah. I mean, as the head, so the body. Pray for his repentance. That's your solution. Psalm 37, Psalm 95, 1 Peter 3. I want you to say something, my friend, because I know you can couch that a little bit here.
You said whose fault is it? And that makes me think about when I was younger and wanted to be a mother. And that's all I wanted to be. And I was told, okay, great, but you have to choose something else. How about an architect?
Yeah, right.
What about a lawyer? You can be the president. I wanted to be
You could be there right now. You would be. You could have. It's the timing. Oh,
move over.
Golly.
Camilla.
Gotta learn to laugh better. Anyway, so, yeah. How disheartening was that as a little girl to have your heart set on loving your children and to be told, yeah, it's not really valuable?
Yeah. It was hard. And then, so my point in even bringing that up is not to say, oh, woe was me, aren't I poor? But it's to say, fathers, watch what you encourage.
Yeah.
Because that sets the stage.
Realize what you're watching is what you encourage. Ooh, ouch. Take that one home. What you're watching is what you encourage. Here's one more for you. Was that anonymous? If you're still watching. Look, the world has sold you a bill of goods. They said, be robo-mom. You're like, I'll be robo-mom. Yeah. It's just like Jane Jetson. Just push a button. It's really easy. Yeah, right. They said, be robo-mom. I'm going to tell you right now. Be a queen. Royal. Married to a priest and a prophet if he's a Christian. Act like it. Daughter of the king. Bride of the prince. Stop being robo-mom. No one needs robo-mom, actually. Hot meal? Awesome. Clean clothes? Great. Robo-mom? Angry. Be a queen.
When we ate cereal, we would have cereal sometimes for dinner. Did you ever get cereal for dinner? Did I ever serve that to you? Or
I think I just went and got it on my own. I mean, you know me and cereal and my bowl of like half a box.
Not for
back in
supper.
my up we go days.
Goodness. If it was for supper, I would have served it.
No. Why'd you ask about food? I didn't catch the
You said
connection.
hot meal.
Oh, well, I'm trying to say I'm trying to say that all the work you're doing, our friend who listed all those things, like none of those things aren't benefiting humans. Those are all like amazing gifts to those people. If they're unaware of it, they're unaware of it. That's not a reason to stop as a Christian. It's a reason to pray in a certain way as a Christian. And then trust that Jesus is the chain breaker. He'll break it. It takes time. Discipline is knowledge over time. Chef Fist says, Jules, this one probably can go a little quicker. Who is the Asaph? What does he have? Why does he have Psalms? Can you provide any context for these prayers? I don't know as much about Asaph as I'd like to, so we're going to learn a little bit about it right now. I don't know as much about the Psalter as I'd like to, but I know enough to say that they're not all by David, and there's a number of different authors and writers in the Psalter. The sons of Korah is a famous one, and this guy Asaph is another. So if you spend any time in the Psalms, you'll see that they have little notes on them, and they'll say various things of David, when this happened, or just of David. And then again, this guy Asaph, he's an author. He's an author of a lot of them, and he's in the Bible. There's a story. So what I'm going to do right now is learn in front of you by going to this book called The Illustrated Dictionary and Concordance of the Bible. Now, books like this don't have to be this annoyingly giant. I just happen to like it. But you can get smaller versions of this, dictionaries of the Bible. They're super useful for this kind of question, because what you do is you look up Asaph, and I got about that much right there. I'm just going to read it to you. Just a paragraph on the guy. It's an encyclopedia basically here, right? So he is either or both the father of Joah, King Hezekiah's recorder. That's in 2 Kings 18 and 37. But then we have Asaph, the son of Berechiah, a Levite, quote, appointed over the service of the song in the house of the Lord during King David's reign. So during that reign, Asaph, together with Heman and Ethan, were to accompany the singers when the ark was brought to Jerusalem. You can read about that in 1 Chronicles 6:31 and following. Asaph and his sons seem to have had a prominent role in the group of singers and musicians in the temple. So, hey, Swiss Family Robinson? No. Sound of Music. What's the name of that family?
The Von Trapp.
Oh, the Von Trapp. It's an old-style Hebrew Von Trapp family event, right? Men only, actually, in the inner circle. But they basically, do you get that, though? Asaph is appointed during David's time to be a lead musician in the temple at the tabernacle, not even that. At the ark, when the ark is brought to Jerusalem, he will lead into and be there, I think, during Solomon's reign. In any case, his family will be. So as one who gets established in the priesthood musicianship around the ark in Jerusalem, his family becomes a family of musicians. I mean, you do tend to pass on skill sets. It happens. And that's, again, they were among the Levitical singers, this family, when the ark was brought from the city of David into the temple by Solomon. There you are. So the family is there as a group of singers in 2 Chronicles 5:2 and following, when Solomon does this. In the time of King Jehoshaphat, Asaph's descendant Jahaziel, inspired by the divine spirit, offered up songs of praise to God to spur the men of Judah into victorious battle against the Edomites. That's 2 Chronicles 20:14 and following, right? So like full-on bard there, right? Like the buff spell, if you're into that kind of thing. That's pretty cool. In the time of King Hezekiah, Asaph's descendants participated in the purification of the temple. So all the way down to when everyone's forgotten about it and repentance happens, his kids repent too. That's pretty cool. 2 Chronicles 29. As temple singers, they took part in the celebration of the Passover in King Josiah's reign. So they're still there. That's 2 Chronicles 35:1 and following. Some of Asaph's descendants were also among those returning to Jerusalem from the Babylonian exile. So they're still there. 12 psalms are ascribed to Asa, including 50, 73, and 83. There's another guy who's related to some gatekeepers, which is more like the sons of Korah. And there's a guy who's the keeper of the royal forest of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, at the time of Nehemiah's return to Jerusalem, who also has that name. So I'm just going to say it again. You don't get to say it every day. Asaph, keeper of the royal forest of Artaxerxes, king of Persia. That's a nice little ring to it right there. So who is Asaph? He a contemporary of David. So he's there with David. This could mean he's just the musician. This could mean he just writes the music that goes with it. And David wrote the words. The Germans debated that to death, and you can go read their nuances and their unbelieving critiques of everything if you want. You can find some real gem nuggets in there and the languages and all this kind of stuff. But, when you see Asaph there, I would just let it remind you of what I just said. Oh, this is connected to that guy. This guy who I don't know lived a Christian life I've never imagined. It was all around this ark in this place with his prayers for his generations to come. And look, they lasted all the way. Ooh, they were answered. Those prayers, I'm sure they're worth praying. I'm sure they're worth praying. Oh, my. Meredith, you found any new Psalms this week you want to share with people? Something else pop out?
Let's see. Did I write any down? Oh, I did. I had written some down and put them on my desk, but I don't have them here.
That's all right.
Just that Proverbs.
All right.
28.
Well, let me tell you, those of you, if you've been following me and you got any CPTSD, 38, 39, 40, in that order. 38, 39, 40, in that order. Give a shot. Give a shot. We got to go party. We're going to go meet some people, and hopefully things will continue to go well so that my kids are all going to be ninjas. Like, actually. We're going to grow up the Von Trapp family singing ninjas, performing in Rockford soon. I don't know. Trying to think if there's anything I should promote before we get out of here. I've talked about Brief History of Power. I've talked about the Patreon page where you can support what we do here. I have not talked about Mad Christian Mondays, best news source on the internet, bar none, and it's hard to keep it. Hard to imagine how it's a secret, except for that we don't pay for people to find it yet. But if you do, you will have all the news you need every Monday in your inbox with links complete, and you will not be zeitgeist by the gaslight. Instead, you can stop that white noise. We did recently move Brief History of Power as a podcast to its own channel, except it's where it was. So if you were subscribed before, now that's the only thing that will be coming through that station, through that channel, is Brief History of Power. So if you want to continue to get this show, Stop the White Noise, in audio, all you got to do is go wherever podcasts can be found, wherever you want to use, and search for Stop the White Noise with Jonathan and Meredith, and we should pop up right there. And you're like, but Pastor Fisk, where did all your sermons go? Look for ellipses saved, but don't type in ellipses, ... saved. Type that one in. Actually, probably just the 2 dots, and I should show up pretty quick with that one. And all the sermons will be downloading there going forward. Hopefully, we will be re-releasing old stuff as well, older content, as not only standalone podcast seasons of various things like the Revelation Unleashed series, but then again, going back and picking up some of the Saturday morning chills and various things like that. So all slow and one day at a time, because frankly, Jesus should come back soon, right? And then it won't matter. So that's that. Mad Christian Mondays, you can sign up at revfist.com/newsletter. Website coming eventually for that group too. It's fun. Lots of fun stuff behind the scenes. It's going to drop one big thing at a time that you don't even notice, hopefully, like the split of the podcast. But lots of cool stuff going on. And if you got questions for the show, also revfist.com/content. Send your questions that way. If you also would like to get more directly involved and maybe even get a comment from me on something, you can join the Mad Christian Discord by searching for Us the Chill on your Discord app and asking to be let in. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. It's a verifiable online city network of Christians trying to navigate these gray and latter days with the wisdom of the scriptures. And we don't always agree. There was an interesting conversation. It was just this week. So I only saw part of it, but the question was, why do you stay on a server with people who you disagree with? And the answer was, because we're working together to try to understand things. So it's not a bad place if you can get over yourself. And if you can't, you usually leave, and then that's okay too. So yeah, why do I look? I want you to say something. We need so what we have to figure out. Here we go. We got to dream of this. So when I finish doing something that's brand new, we need a cue that you have that leads to me saying the closing lines. So it's going to have to be something like, coming to you live from Rockford, 42 Squared Gardens Paradise. I don't know what you would say. Ain't cool till you wear the new off.
It isn't.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Why was I thinking about that? Oh, because I noticed we both were wearing our Goodwill shirts today.
Goodwill's the
Ta-da!
best. Goodwill's the best.
And I thought, yeah, that's fun. We have recently discovered the thrill of wearing somebody else's clothing. It's pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited to be the best neighbor I can be. That's right. To be a good neighbor. It's a prospect I have. Yeah. Hey, this has been Stop the White Noise with Jonathan and Meridith. Don't wallow in the muck with those who have no hope, but lift up your head all the more as you see the day approaching, because Jesus Christ is risen. That makes you paid for and immortal now. He's not going to be long anyway. The water seals it. The food feeds it. That's Christianity. Rock on. Hallelujah.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw that coming. I saw that coming. That was good. Rock on.
I don't even know where the button is.
This is good.
Oh, there it is.
Was that worth $1? Click the Patreon link in the show notes to sign up. Pretty please?